Planning Development and Environmental Committee, roll call. Legislator Delia DeRicci Witten. Legislator Laura Curran.
Here.
Thank you. Ranking Member Arnold Drucker.
Here.
Legislator James Kennedy.
Here.
Legislator Denise Ford.
Here.
Vice Chairman Stephen Rose.
Present.
Chairwoman Laura Schaefer.
Here.
We have a quorum now.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with clerk item number 336-17 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an agreement with the State of New York Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for a further 10-year license of property in the vicinity of Massapequa, Town of Oyster Bay, to be used for park purposes.
Eileen
Can I have a
Creed,
motion?
Department-
I'm sorry, I need a motion. Motion made by Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator Kennedy. Okay, does someone speak on this?
Eileen Creed, Department of Parks.
Thank you.
This is a parcel of land adjacent to Massapequa Preserve. It is had a license for the past 20 years with the state, and it expired in February 2017. It's an area, I guess, that we picked up because of neglect, and it's revenue neutral for us. It doesn't cost us anything to take care of it, but many of the constituents used to complain about the condition of it. So Nassau County had agreed 2 previous 10-year terms to take care of this piece of property.
Is there anything different about the new?
No, it's
lease?
identical to the last lease.
It's identical.
Yeah, it doesn't cost us anything to take care of it because we take care of the rest of the preserve itself.
Okay. Any questions from the legislators? Legislator Rhodes?
Hey, just, Eileen, out of curiosity, is it operated in conjunction with the preserve?
Yeah, it's pretty much just a parcel adjacent to it. It's passive. There's nothing really happening there. The trails do go through there, but it's nothing. So it is part of the trail.
Was it presented to OSPAC at all, or did it happen?
It didn't go to us back.
Okay. Thanks.
Any questions from any of the legislators? Okay, any questions? Any public comment on this item? There being none, all those in favor of clerk item number 336-17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the item passes. Okay, next we have clerk item number 380-17, which is a resolution making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and authorizing the county executive on behalf of the County of Nassau to execute a contract of sale between the County of Nassau and North Shore Land Alliance Incorporated, and to execute all pertinent documents therewith to consummate the acquisition by the county of certain premises located in the village of Millneck, Town of Oyster Bay, County of Nassau, State of New York. Said property known as Section 29, Block R3, Lot 302, and 305 on the land and tax map of the County of Nassau. Motion, please, to open the hearing. Moved by Legislator Ford, seconded by Legislator Kennedy.
Good afternoon, legislators. Kevin Walsh from the Office of Real Estate Services. This is a contract of sale for acquisition of open space property in the village of Millneck. This is about approximately a 5-acre piece of open space property that is adjacent to other property acquired by the county in open space in approximately 2007-2008. Also, it is adjacent to a parcel known as the Shuswap Preserve. So this property we are acquiring will be made part of the open space program. It'll be open to the public and used as a preserve. The reason we are acquiring this is also in connection with a consent order with EPA, unrelated to this property, but the nature of that consent order is that the county needs to acquire a piece of property in the critical aquifer protection area. This specific piece of property is acceptable to the EPA. Also, it needed to be subdivided from another parcel owned by the North Shore Land Alliance, and that subdivision was necessary to go through not only the County Planning Commission, but also the villages of Millneck and Matinacock, which have approved this subdivision, and that is basically it.
Okay, are there any questions from any of the legislators? Legislator Drucker?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Good afternoon, Mr. Walsh.
Good afternoon.
For purposes of clarification, can you tell us if the appraised value was disclosed at all?
The appraised value for this, the appraisal for this property
Yes.
was not disclosed. However, we actually knew we had $700,000 that we had to spend as part of the consent order. So we identified property, initially 3.5 acres, and we were able to acquire more property of approximately 5 acres. So we did work with the North Shore Land Lines, but this specific appraisal was not disclosed to the sellers. That's the question you're asking.
Thank you very much.
Legislator Ford?
I thought somebody else had a question. There you go first.
Can I, is that okay, Laura?
Here.
I just had a quick question. Is this the property that is with the Smithers Foundation, or is that a different parcel?
I'm sorry, what foundation?
Smithers Foundation.
Smithers, no, this is a different piece. It's in the vicinity of the Smithers Foundation parcel. This is actually part of the former, what was called the Humes Estate parcel. So it's in the same area, so on Frost Mill Road and Oyster Bay Road. And one other thing to point out is we will have access to this property from both Oyster Bay Road and Frost Mill Road through an easement.
Is there another piece of property in that area that's pending? Do you know about that? With, maybe connected with the foundation? Or?
With the North Shore, with the Smithers Foundation, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Legislator Ford?
Thank you. Exactly how did we settle on this particular piece of property? Did you go out and look for it, considering what the
There were,
EPA?
you know, I actually have some counsel here, Jane Hodak from Department of Public Works, actually worked with EPA, looking at various properties throughout the county, and obviously it had to be in an aquifer recharge area. This is an area where, you know, the groundwater obviously very concerned for the entire county. And after going back and forth with the EPA, they settled that this property does meet that critical aquifer protection program. And what will happen is when we purchase this property from the North Shore Land Alliance, they'll be able to use the proceeds to either acquire other property, use it for other North Shore Land Alliance programs. So it really is a win-win for the county and for the Alliance.
But the Alliance will get the $700,000.
That's correct.
We're not going to get it, right?
That's correct. It'll go to the North Shore Land Alliance.
So were you just like, did the EPA require us only to purchase property in the North Shore? Or was it anywhere in the county that had the lead aquifer?
Good afternoon, legislator and legislators before. The consent order had some constraints on it. First of all, that the property, we had to buy property for approximately $700,000, and that amount could not be coupled with any other monies. It had to be a standalone purchase. And as you can imagine, trying to find a parcel of vacant land in Nassau County for that amount of money was very difficult. It also had to be property that that augmented the protection of groundwater. It had to be in an area that had that protection of groundwater, and and one of the things we had approached EPA about after Superstorm Sandy was there were a number of properties, and could those properties fulfill that requirement? And their position was no, because those properties in that South Shore area, in those sandy inundated areas, didn't have the necessary hydrogeological connection to the augmentation of groundwater protection. And so this property came up, the North Shore Land Alliance had purchased this property, and there was a mortgage on the property, and they were needing to satisfy that mortgage, and then so we became aware of that need, and the nexus of that property with the property that we already own. So giving it, just magnifying the aquifer protection potential of the property that we already own that was acquired and approved by the legislature for the Bond Act for aquifer protection was only enhanced by the addition of this additional 5 acres.
Okay, and then how much acreage was there that you subdivided from that's owned by the North Shore Land Alliance?
I believe it's approximately, 28. So there's what we said to them is we want to acquire $700,000 worth of property, and Kevin worked with the appraiser, and we maximized the amount of land that we could acquire. So to be able to spend $700,000 and acquire 5 acres is a very significant benefit to the county.
And it just stays,
It's part of that preserve, and it is not going to be, it's a passive preserve. People will be able to go and walk through it. There are trails, it's proximate to other preserves, and the trails will be connected. But the idea is that it be retained in its natural habitat so as to get the benefit of the aquifer protection.
All right, thank you very much.
Can I ask you, Ms. Hodak, The consent order requires that you purchase property every year, is that correct?
No.
No, not
No,
every year.
this was a one-time to satisfy, it's called the Supplemental Environmental Benefit Program, and rather than paying a penalty to the EPA, it's sort of, it's an enhanced amount of money, but you get to do something environmental protective for the area that is part of the consent order, and that the consent order covered the entire county.
Okay, are we required to buy any more in the future?
Not under this
Not
existing
under this.
consent order, no.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the legislator? Okay, any public comment on this item? There being none, all those in favor of clerk item number 380-17 signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. Item passes. Okay, the next item is clerk item number 384-17. This is an ordinance making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and authorizing the county executive of the County of Nassau to accept on behalf of the County of Nassau an offer of purchase from Jobco Realty and Construction Incorporated of certain premises located in the town of North Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York. Said property known as Section 20, Block A, Lot 204 on the land and tax map of the County of Nassau, and authorizing the county executive to execute a deed, contract of sale, and all pertinent documents in connection therewith to consummate the sale. Can I have a motion? Motion made by Legislator Kennedy, seconded by Legislator Rhodes.
Kevin Walsh, again, Office of Real Estate Services. This is an ordinance for a sale of property. This property was known as the former Roslyn Senior Center in Roslyn. We have a contract of sale for $800,000. Several RFPs have been issued for this property over the years. The property has been abandoned and vacant for several years. It's had some water intrusion, some mold, and some other problems. So it was difficult to get this property marketed. There was a RFP, the most recent RFP was issued January of this year. There were 4 proposals through a series of best and final offer letters issued to the finalists. The final sale was for $800,000. The sale has been unanimously approved both by the Planning Commission and OSMAC.
Okay. Can you tell me where the proceeds of the sale will go?
The proceeds of this, just like any sale, would go into 95% would go to the county's general fund and 5% would go to the open space fund.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the legislators? Legislator Drucker.
Thank you, Chairwoman Schaefer. Mr. Walsh, sorry, my concerns before were related to this property, so I apologize.
Okay, sure.
This was the property I was interested in because, so the best and final offer was the $800,000 offer that was from the very beginning?
No, I believe the first offer of the highest bidder was probably $760,000, and then we typically will ask for best and final offers from the proposers. And the proposer who was successful had raised his offer to $800,000, which was consistent with actually the appraisal.
Right, so it's just coincidental, I guess, that
Yes.
the appraised value and the best and final offer was the exact amount of the appraised value?
That just is the way it turned out. We had other offers on this property, but really nothing in that range.
Thank you. One final question. The OSPAC approvals, they go back to 2009, correct?
That's
Do they have an expiration date?
That's correct. They don't have an expiration date, and in light of the fact that conditions have not changed for this property, at all, or the building, they're still valid. I confirmed that with the planners in the planning department, so they're still valid. They don't expire. I know subdivision approvals sometimes do have an expiration date. These do not.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from legislators? Any public comment on this item? There being none, all those in favor of clerk item number 384-17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the item passes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item we have is clerk item number 408-17. This is a resolution to authorize the release of the surety bond and escrow deposit covering improvements on the map of the Seasons at Seaford condominium situated in the hamlet of Seaford, town of Hempstead, county of Nassau, state of New York. May I have a motion? So moved by legislator Rhodes, seconded by legislator Ford. Someone to speak?
John Caracas, Nassau County Planning. On July 30, 2015, the Planning Commission conditionally approved final subdivision approval of a subdivision titled Seasons at Seaford Condominium. One condition was to submit a performance bond and escrow to ensure all public improvements were installed correctly. Since then, there was a change in ownership, and we have a rider transferring the bond and escrow to the new owner's name. Final inspection of all bonded public improvements was made by the Nassau County DPW Chief Inspector in an inspection report dated August 3rd, 2017, to determine that all public improvements covered under the bond have been completed and found to be in compliance with the applicable codes and standards. It's at its duly noticed public hearing by the Planning Commission on September 28, 2017. The Commission recommended release of surety bond in an amount of $2,565,450.61 and cash escrow in the amount of $81,405.69.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any questions from the legislators on this item? Any public comments? There being none, all those in favor of clerk item number 408-17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the item passes. Okay, the last item we have is clerk item number 423-17. This is an ordinance making certain determinations pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act and authorizing the county executive of the County of Nassau to accept on behalf of the County of Nassau an offer of purchase from JMDH Real Estate of Garden City, LLC, of certain premises located in the Uniondale Town of Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York. Said property known as Section 44, Block D, Lot 133, on the land and tax map of the County of Nassau, and authorizing the county executive to execute a deed and all pertinent documents in connection therewith to consummate the sale. Okay, may I have a motion, please? So moved by legislator Ford, seconded by legislator Kennedy. Okay, do someone speak?
Nicholas Fernandez, Deputy County Attorney. This is the sale of a 10-foot wide strip of property located adjacent to the Restaurant Depot on Stewart Avenue in Uniondale. The person who owns the Restaurant Depot property, as well as the property adjacent to it, has made a request to the county to purchase the intervening strip. The person who is buying the property had previously obtained an easement from a prior owner of this property and maintained an easement on the site, and they're looking to purchase it. The county will, after appraisal by both an appraiser hired by the purchaser as well as the appraiser hired by the county, it was determined that a fair market value of the price of the property would be $175,000. And as in all real estate sales, 95% of the property goes into the general fund and 5% is reserved for open space fund. There were no other adjoining owners to the property, so that there were no interested parties to this property, and the Department of Public Works, after some issue as to whether or not the property was encumbered by some type of drainage purpose, but the County of Nassau made a determination that there was no such drainage purpose for the property, such purpose being to a different property in the area, so it was DPW approved the property to be marketed, to be sold to the adjoining owners. And it was approved by the Planning Commission and went through all of the necessary processes.
Thank you. Can I ask you, what was the appraisal price? Was it more than the sale price?
Excuse me?
Was the appraisal price more than the sale price?
Yes, the original appraisal by the county appraiser was $190,000. But then at the time, he evaluated it if it was free and clear. And because of the fact that they already had the existing easements on the property, and that it was and the appraisers by the purchaser, obviously, in all these different situations, was much was about $50,000, given the fact that the property was not a buildable piece and it was being appraised as vacant land, in commercial vacant land on the area based on acreage and not, and that was the way it was appraised, even though it had no functionality as a separate piece of property. So after discussion and after determination with our appraiser, determined that 175 was a good, we had asked them to up their offer. They had offered somewhere in the low six figures at one point, and then at some point we determined that 175 would be a fair market value price for the property.
Okay, so you're saying that when he appraised it, he didn't appraise it with the easements considered and all the other things you mentioned? Is that correct?
Yeah, basically that the appraisers were different, to be doing different appraisal philosophies, and that it was determined that the 175,000 would be a fair market value within the range of appraisal properties being less than, being very less than 10% of the differential of the property.
Okay. Any other legislators have questions? Okay, any public comment on this item? There being none, all those in favor of clerk item number 423-17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the item passes. And can I have a motion to close? So moved by legislator Ford, seconded by legislator Rose. What's up next? All in favor say aye, I'm sorry. Thanks. Okay, Public Works is next.
My son. I thought so too, but maybe they're using it. I don't know. They might have it.
We are actually doing the health committee, so will the members of the health committee please come to the table? Health? call the Health Committee to order and ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Thank you, ma'am. Health and Social Service Committee, roll call. Legislator Arnold Drucker.
Yeah.
Legislator Sheila Bino.
Here.
Ranking Member Delia DeRicci Witten.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator James Kennedy. Here. Legislator Laura Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Chairman C. William Gale III. Chairwoman Rose Marie Walker.
Here.
We have a forum.
Thank you. I'm going to call the first 5 items together. Clerk item 381-17, 382-17, 433-17, 438-17, and 439-17 are all ordinances supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Health Department. Have a motion, please, by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator Kennedy. And we have Ms. Mary Ellen Lorraine.
Good afternoon, Mary Ellen Lorraine, Department of Health. I just want to make sure I didn't hear it. Item 406-17 is also the Health Department. I'm not sure if you called it.
You know what, I don't think I did. So can we add to that item, clerk item 406-17?
Thank you. Item 381-17 is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $24,720. This is for the immunization action plan. This is an additional COLA award, and it is funded through New York State Department of Health.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? Okay, item 382-17.
Item 382-17 is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $1,770,317. It's for the WIC program. This is federally funded supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment?
Item 406-17 is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $4,663. This is for the children with special health care needs. This is also a COLA award, and it's funded through New York State Department of Health.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment?
Item 433-17 is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $6.8 million. This is for the Ryan White program. This is grant funded through the United States Department of Health and Human Services. It is for both Nassau and Suffolk counties, so we have an intermunicipal agreement with Suffolk County, and United Way is the administrator of the grant.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment?
Item 438-17 is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $75,000. This is for the Sexually Transmitted Disease Intervention Grant. Again, this is funded through New York State Department of Health, and it confirms diagnosis and treatment of those infected with sexually transmitted diseases. Item 439.
Oh, any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment?
Item 439-17 is a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $198,425. This is for the lead poisoning prevention program, and is also funded through New York State Department of Health. Its mission is to prevent lead poisoning in children.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comments? Okay, all those in favor of clerk items 381, 382, 406, 433, 438, and 439-17, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? They are unanimous, and they will move on to finance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. Next item is item 392-17, which is an ordinance, amending ordinance number 123-217, supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Department of Human Resources.
Whatever that is.
Motion, please, by legislator Kennedy, second by legislator Schaefer.
Brian Hall, Human Services. This is a grant for our 2018 funds to run the methadone clinic. It's 100% reimbursable.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of clerk item 392-17, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? No abstentions? This carries also, and we'll move on to finance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next items are clerk item 404-17 and 405-17, which are both ordinances supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Department of Social Services. Motion, please, by legislator Gaylor, seconded by legislator Kennedy. And we have Mr. Paul Broderick.
Legislators, good afternoon. Paul Roderick, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Social Services. Excuse me. The item before you is a supplemental appropriation for $17,852,342. This is to fund the salary expense of 100% funded positions in our food stamp program, home energy assistant program, employment services, and various components of Medicaid. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Broderick from the legislators? Any public comment? Okay, item 405-17.
Item before you is a supplemental, additional supplemental appropriation for $92,820 for the Nassau County Safe Harbor Program, which whose objectives and goals are to address the needs of commercially sexually exploited children in Nassau County. Do you have any questions?
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor of clerk item 404-17 and 405-17 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, and those will also move on to finance. Thank you very much, Mr. Broderick.
Thank you.
And the final two items are clerk item 430-17 and 432-17, which are an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Department of Mental Health, Chemical Dependency, and Developmental Disability Services. May I have a motion, please, by legislator Schaefer, second by legislator Kennedy.
Hi, Brian Hall, Human Services. Item number 430-17 is our annual grant appropriation for 2018 for our mental health children's services. It's also 100% reimbursable.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? Okay.
And item 432-17 is our annual appropriation grant money for 2018 for our mental health adult services. Again, 100% reimbursable.
Any questions or comments from the legislators? Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of clerk item 430 and 432-17 signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Are unanimous, and they will also move on to finance. And thank you very much, Mr. Hall. And that is all that we have on the agenda today. I have a motion to adjourn by legislator Schaefer, seconded by legislator Gaylor. All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Okay. And next is and the next committee will be the finance committee.
Hey, Arnie, this person told you to review the contract. Yeah. A new one as opposed to, but what happens is we have so much trouble getting stuff through the controller's office, so it should only take a moment.
It just seems like every time we take a step forward, we're gonna take two back.
I know, but you want to have a divorce meeting, they didn't like respond for the longest time, but we're on track. We're on track. When we get it back, it's already in the system. All we got to do is sub out the bill. As soon as we get it back, we'll get it done.
Thanks, Franny.
Sure.